Welcome to Discover Virginia, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the incredible people, businesses, and stories that shape the Hampton Roads and Virginia community. Each episode, we sit down with local entrepreneurs, creatives, and change makers who are making an impact, building something great, and redefining what it means to live, work, and also play in this region. Now, let's explore, connect, and discover Virginia. Some of the biggest cultural shifts often begin with small, passionate movements. People daring to challenge the norm and create something different. My guest today is doing exactly that. Christina Kimbrough is the founder of Life LLC, a groundbreaking, non-alcoholic pop-up bar business based in Norfolk, Virginia. Shout out to Norfolk. She's redefining social spaces by making alcohol-free events not just accepted, but also celebrated. With a background in journalism, a passion for storytelling, and a deep understanding of community building as a military spouse, Christina has built a brand that's about more than just drinks. It's about connection, empowerment, and really this new wave of socializing. Today, we're diving into her journey, what inspired her to start, and the resistance she's faced along the way, and how she sees the movement leading forward. Christina, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. So grateful to be here.
So I want to get off kind of heavy, if that's all right.
Yeah.
When did your relationship with alcohol begin?
Yeah.
And what has your relationship to alcohol been like throughout the course of your life?
Yeah. Funny enough, I didn't start drinking until college. I grew up in the Midwest in Ohio and evangelical home, so there wasn't really drinking. It was a pretty strict household. So I really dove into it into college. And then after there, it was off to the races. I was like, I found it. I was like, this is fun.
Yeah. Wow. And then I just guessed college and social pressure and just the connection piece, I think, is big too.
100%.
Because in college, that's what you do. You drink. And unless you're going to a school that matches that upbringing, right? It's a little different.
Yep.
At what point did you realize, your sobriety journey was something that you wanted to begin to work on and improve?
Yeah.
And then subsequently start to share?
Yeah. You said something really good, and it's so true, is it's just normalized. Binge drinking in particular, like getting blackout, drunk. It's just kind of what you do in your 20s. Yeah. In hindsight and after getting sober, I'm like, was that the best idea? But I was 31, and I am a military spouse, and, I was finding that all my friends were home, and I was staying out till 2 a.m., 7 a.m. sometimes, finding the ways to stay out all night. And I was like, this is, one, not sustainable. Two, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm meant for more. And so, I've been sober February 4th, 2020 is when I got sober. But I had a long, bad night out of drinking. And my husband, the love of my life, was like, I can't do this anymore. He didn't threaten divorce, but he was just very, this is not sustainable. And so I saw the ways that I was hurting him, and I was like, let me get help. And so we reached out to back home to get a treatment center. I did outpatient. And January 2020, I went home and got help.
Wow. For those people who have friends, or maybe they're in that situation where they are, where you just described, what is your message to those people too?
Yeah,
because it's so easy to glaze over like a story of like, yes, that happened and now I'm on the other side. But like people that are like currently wading through that, or maybe they're just curious about non-alcoholic lifestyles. What is your conversation and dialogue for those kind of people? Yeah,
if they're really struggling more on the addiction, there's always hope. I remember thinking, like, even in the early days, like, how am I going to get through one day sober? Like how, because it got to that point, or even a week, or how am I going to socialize? There's always hope. Like, there's many of us out here who are living vibrant, amazing lives. And then the other side, being sober is a trend now. I don't think it's a trend. I think it's here to stay. It's really fun and exciting.
I love that. And most people would never think of a bar not having alcohol, right? And like you said, it's a trend. Yeah. I'm curious for you, like, was there a hard part, or if there was, what was the hardest part about turning this idea you had? Because it was a lifestyle change first, right? And then it became this idea of, now I'm going to go public on this. Yeah. And post about it, which is a bold step in and of itself, but now start a business and a brand. Yeah. What was that thought process like for you? Yeah.
So I got sober in 2020, and then I was in outpatient, which is like treatment, to get sober. But it was COVID. So the world was shut down when I got out. So I didn't have to learn to what I say, people. I didn't have to learn how to talk to people or socialize without alcohol. So I spent that first year in sobriety just not talking to people. And then the world started to open up and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to talk to people. Like I had social anxiety because I used to drink when I would go out and party.
Sure.
So I had to really learn, and I lost a lot of friends when I stopped drinking. And I was like, well, what does it look to be a human without alcohol? And so I started looking for groups, and I had a friend still to this day who had started a meetup in Hampton Roads for people that don't drink. And I went and got coffee because I was just trying to find like-minded people because I still wanted to go out. The recovery space was telling me people, places, and things, you can't go out, you can't socialize. And I was like, I kicked an addiction to stay home? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so, yeah, Free Life was born after that. We started as a social group on Meetup. We blew up to like 500 members within a couple months, and I was like, okay, this is a thing.
Yeah.
Got an LLC because we kept doing events and then charging for them, and then we realized we needed better drinks. And so the mobile bar was launched after that.
Interesting. So your company Free Life started in 2023.
Yeah.
And it's created quite a stir here in the local marketplace from non-alcoholic beverages, and it's evolved, to other cocktails and things like that, commonly referred to as like mocktails, or to cater to those focused on sober living, and also those being mindful of what they're drinking in social settings. I'm curious for you because like that trend, albeit a trend or here to stay, I'm curious, like, did you receive any pushback or skepticism? You did. What was that like?
Yes. I was just thinking about this recently. So I received it on both ends. The recovery space, which I am in, if people don't know recovery from an addiction, right? So recovery was like, well, that's dangerous. You can't have non-alc, which is like, because there's 0.05%, which is as much as a fermented banana. Anyway, so they were that space was very anti it. And then the people that drank were like, no, nobody wants to socialize without alcohol. You're crazy. Like everybody drinks. Nobody wants this. And so, yeah, the first couple of years, people pushed back all the time. And I wanted it, and I knew that there was a small band of us that did, so I kept doing events, and I'm here to say there's definitely a space for it.
Yeah. That is incredible, too, because, like, you think of these norms of, like, it's either one extreme or the other that you're advocating for, but yours was in the middle of two extremes that cater to this market. And, there's a growing movement of mindful drinking and sober curious, and I'm curious, how does Free Life and now being an LLC, as part of this shift, what do you think it takes to change, this long-held cultural tradition of, hey, if we're going to go out, we're going to order drinks, someone's going to get blackout drunk, and someone's going to have to be a designated driver.
Yeah.
How do we push against that?
Yeah, I love that question. For me, it's more about celebrating. So that is part of the Free Life brand, is celebrating what happens and the good that's gained from being sober, because a lot of the messaging was that, like, I saw it. Sobriety's boring, right? You can't have fun sober. And I'm like, no, respectfully. So part of it's that I'm living my life out loud and fully doing everything that I used to do with alcohol, but now without the hangover, making an idiot out of myself and feeling better. So for me, and it's not just me. This movement is huge. And it's not just for people that are sober. It's mindful consumption is a big word. Maybe just learning to drink less, or, always questioning our relationship with alcohol. So.
Yeah. So there's a difference between creating a business and creating a movement. And I think sometimes businesses and movements kind of flop in between, and they might not fully commit to either one. What you're doing feels like you're doing both, and you're doing both really well. I'm curious, how does this responsibility weigh on you?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Especially with something so personal with, an addiction.
Yes, and it's all intentional. So absolutely, I believe in business for good. It is a social entrepreneurship at its heart, right? So it started in community. It's still rooted in community. So we have a business, and then we also have the community aspect. And it's hard. To be honest, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. I love it, and it's the coolest thing I've ever done, but I'm exhausted because, I'm building a community on this side, and then I'm also just running and learning how to build a business.
Yeah. When you say it's hard running a business and also building a community, what aspects of the business and the community seem to be the most common, let's just say, flat tires that you receive throughout the day-to-day operations?
Yeah. I think a lot of it's just bandwidth because, building a community I love, and we do a lot of events, and it's growing, and which is what you want. So it's just learning to manage that, right? And then the business side, I've never run a business before, so everything's new. That's what I've been saying.
Gotcha.
I'm exhausted from. I'm like, oh my God, when am I gonna cruise? Like I would love to wake up and know what I'm doing for once. I mean, I do, but you know what I mean. It's
Right.
There's just always something new to learn, which is exciting and sometimes exhausting.
The entrepreneurial journey, especially too, with a startup like yours, like albeit 2023 is relatively seems farther back in the rear view than we like to admit sometimes. It still does take a lot of gearing up for the business side of things. And you're based in Norfolk, which we love.
Yes.
Albeit we're recording in Virginia Beach, but Virginia area is what we always focus on. I would love to talk about the community piece next and how the local community has embraced or challenged this concept that you've brought into the marketplace that didn't really exist before.
Yeah, I would say at first people were like, what is this? What do you mean we're socializing without alcohol? Or like Saturday, we're having Hampton Roads' first dance party. So we're doing like a big like DJ healing house music. Anyway, and so I've introduced these ideas and people are like kind of tiptoeing into it. Like, what is this? And then they come and it's always overwhelmingly beautiful to see people are like, I didn't even miss the alcohol. Right? Like they're excited and they love it. And so I've partnered with like Hampton Roads Networking Group is one of the biggest.
Shout out to Markella. Over at Hampton
Markella's
Roads
amazing.
Networking Group.
We've hosted multiple events together because she gets it.
Yeah.
And I always say this, I'm not anti-alcohol. Every event I go to, a lot of them, unless it's mine, have alcohol. I say put me next to the bar. It's just about being inclusive and giving people options.
That's really important too, like giving people the options piece. Like I alluded to earlier, kind of this middle market that's like, hey, you can drink, you can not drink. What is this? Like, is that the question you get? Like, what is this? And what is this that you hear from is the most often vocabulary for that?
Yeah, I hear it all the time. And when I'm doing events, I let people sample everything because obviously it's new. So
Right.
they need to understand it. Or I get a lot of pushback of like, why would I even drink this? Because it doesn't have the effect.
And this being a non-alcoholic beverage
Yes.
or a mocktail or
All of the above.
all of the above.
Yep. And so it's been a beautiful journey. I think like anything with entrepreneurship, it is absolutely competency on my end, but it's also like the non-alc market is just through the roof. If I'm not sure if you're familiar, but it's crazy. It's wild. And people are just looking for better options. And to be frank, I don't want water or Diet Coke when I go out.
Or coffee.
Or
right?
coffee at 7:00. What are we doing? And so I always say if there's an alcohol you like, I could probably find you a really good non-alc version. There's, tequilas, bourbons, rum, wine. Like it's wild. So.
They definitely are getting very creative. And then, of course, if you're watching the video version of this or you're not, go check out the video version on YouTube. We'll actually be sampling some of Christina's wonderful flavors from mocktails to also mock beer.
Yeah, we have some beer today, too. Yep.
I am so excited for that. And definitely stay tuned for that coming up here shortly. As we head to the end of our conversation today, Christina, many businesses often struggle standing out. Right? Or they get to the part where they're running the community, they're running the business, and they're low on that bandwidth. I'm curious how you have actively and continue to want to position Free Life in a way that makes people, not only stop and take notice, but also in a way that keeps up with that demand because it is such a growing market.
Yeah. I think I have a strong why. That's what always gets me out of bed. I don't think I know. I love what I do. I think hearing feedback from people, I've heard multiple times at events, people are like, I'm staying sober now because of you, because, I knew you were going to be here with your non-alcoholic drinks and it's great. Now I have an option. Now I don't have to talk about why I'm not drinking. I'm proud of my recovery, but I don't want to talk about it all the time. So having non-alcoholic drinks helps.
Such an incredible way to introduce a concept and also the why behind what you do, because people love to work with brands and businesses that they connect the why with. What's the long-term vision, Christina? Where are we headed in the next 5 to 10 years with this growing market? Yes.
So ideally, the dream is, the non-alcoholic bar. I'd love to have a space. So I'd love to have a dry bar, as it's called, so an actual bar in Hampton Roads, where it's all obviously non-alcoholic drinks. But then the bigger conversation would be chapters. So I would love to take it nationally, maybe even internationally, and show people how to build and sustain a community. We have a loneliness epidemic, I'm sure, as you're aware of. And so it's way more than about just not drinking. It's about community, healthy community, and people, and a movement that want better for themselves, and wellness and connection is at the heart of all of it.
Why is it that you think we have a loneliness epidemic?
It's a great question. COVID
definitely escalated with COVID.
It escalated, and social skills are a skill. And I find that because we isolated so long, it became easier and easier to keep isolating or not go out or push ourselves. I do obviously events for a living, and I've seen the amount that people cancel or don't want to come out is very high, and social anxiety, right? And again, so social skills are a skill. So if we don't use them, they atrophy, and we get more nervous to go out. We don't push ourselves, and then it's easier to stay isolated and stay home. That's one piece of the puzzle.
Sure.
I mean, how deep do you want to go? I love this stuff, and it's in my heart and in the wheelhouse of what I speak about professionally, and then free life.
I really appreciate that synopsis and overview, and would love to encourage our listeners to hear more about this, to come to one of your events, take the bold step, go out, invite a friend or challenge that friend to come out. And then, just the small little step of, hey, at least there's non-alcoholic beverages for you to try.
That's right. I love it.
I love it. I love it as well. Christina, thank you so much for your time. And of course, we'd love to roll out the red carpet and allow you to share any final words or messages to the audience. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. This has just been so great. I appreciate it. I mean, really, if you're just looking for a good community for people that don't drink, that's the one thing I would love to say. It's not about sobriety or recovery. We say if you're one day sober, or even just for the evening, you want to take a night off, or for the rest of your life, like, you belong with us. So.
Love that. Wonderful. Thank you, Christina, for your time. And thank you to our dedicated listeners for checking out this episode. But definitely stick around. We're going to be trying some wonderful mocktails and some mock beer. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you all in that next episode very soon.